thanks for talking to me. Appreciate it. To start off, when we left off last season, obviously Angela had helped him with his assessment and everything, but she's still kind of at the beginning of the season doing everything for herself more than anything. But that to me seems to sort of shift as the season goes on. So can you kind of talk about, I guess, her overall changes this season journey, where she's headed, that kind of thing?
Yeah. Um, I definitely feel like in the first season, we got a glimpse at Angela, where she was um, kind of as a person. I like to think of Angela as someone who really likes to, ever since she's been turned, she's someone who's always really claimed power, sought after power, and that was her way of really controlling the situation since she's been turned. And so definitely, even if you look at her relationships that she had with her little minions, she was still very controlling of them. And I feel like definitely since she's been turned and over those 300 years, she's kind of developed this way of isolating herself. And and even though she kind of really wanted to keep people around, she always ended up sabotaging those relationships. And even with her minions, Penelope and LeBron, she wanted to keep them around, but at the same time, she still didn't really like treat them the nicest. And then if you look at her relationship with Maurice, that was even more of a self-sabotaging moment. And I think Maurice kind of really reminded her of what it was like to be human and what it was like to have relationships and to have a team around you and to have a family. And I think that really freaked her out. But at the same time, I think she really doesn't want to be alone. She kind of has this fear of abandonment. And so definitely throughout the first season and into the second season, she's kind of come to terms with being a part of a team, and she kind of really actually does enjoy that, even though she's a little bit reluctant to be a part of the team that she's on. But she definitely does kind of seek out and nurture those relationships, and I think she really does end up kind of enjoying that. And throughout this season, you kind of see Angela battling with the idea of, once again, she let herself have these relationships and she let people in, and now something bad could happen, and that really freaks her out, and she kind of starts spiraling a little bit.
Yeah. I like though she still stays Angela. Even so, she's never she's never gonna give up unless forced, we'll say, her
Exactly.
softness there. So what I want to ask you is, because she is kind of for the most part this, not so nice caring person, how do you connect with that? Like, what did you kind of pull on in order to connect with that part of her as you started
Yeah,
this?
I kind of always it's so funny. I ever since theater school and stuff like that, I kind of have always really found, I guess because I'm such like a mental health advocate person, and because I have my own struggles with that stuff, I kind of really always connect with my characters in terms of what's going on with them, kind of like emotionally, like and mentally, like why do they do the things that they do, like what could have happened to them that makes them react in the way that they do. And so when it comes to Angela, I really understand this version of her, sometimes like self-isolating and kind of pulling away from certain relationships and things like that. And so I get why she does the things that she does. It may not be the most healthiest way to deal with situations, but for me, I've always kind of just connected on that level, and I try to just think about why it is that she's reacting to certain situations that she's reacting to, because of, like, what emotion might this be, bringing up for Angela, type of thing, kind of sit in like an armchair, and I have a little therapy session with my characters.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to talk. I don't know why it made me think of it, but as you were saying that, I was thinking about some of the struggles she is having at the beginning of the season, accepting the fact that she's maybe not having to leave, but she is not living the same life that she is used to living and her dealing with that. So could you just tease a little bit about that? I'm not sure how much
Yes.
you're allowed to say, so I'll let you.
Definitely at the beginning of this season, Angela's living the not so glamorous life. I mean, Angela will always add glamour to any situation as much as possible. But yes, she may not be Deacon now and she may not have to leave Akron, but she definitely doesn't have the same, let's say, respect that she had in the previous seasons when it comes to how people are treating her and doting on her. So that's yeah, that'll be fun.
All right.
I'm also always not too sure of how much I can give away. I don't want to be like a Tom Holland and
Yeah. I think that kind of stuff is probably okay. What I was more referring to, but I more meant how like she's in a different living situation. She's not so yeah, she's missing her
Oh,
mansion.
yes. She definitely doesn't have her one giant room anymore. It was so funny. I used to always think, I was like, we only ever see, she has this giant mansion. We
I never
only ever
thought of
see
that,
her,
right?
yeah, in this one room, which is so funny. Like she works there, she sleeps there. She's a businesswoman through and through.
Yeah. She does still have a good wardrobe though. So I wanted to ask
Yes.
you about because you always have, are the most fashionable one on the show and it's great. Do you have a favorite and have you been able to, or I guess tried to keep any of them would be my other question.
Yes, always. I'm always trying to keep things on shows. The buyers are always just so good. They always just find all of this stuff where I'm like, where did you find this? Where did you get this from? Yeah, I really like Angela's wardrobe this season. I liked her wardrobe last season. It was definitely last season I tried to kind of keep it. It was definitely more Anne Ricey last season, in the sense of like a lot of the frills and the high collars and stuff like that. But this season, it's definitely a little bit more sleek. We'd say a little bit more battle attire. And I always really like the outfits where I have the corset on. And for everybody, wondering, I requested the corset. Some people are always like, why did they put you in the corset? That sucks. But I really like the corset. I find, especially in the first season, Angela had a lot of furniture that was very low to the ground and very like wide. Like you'd sit back like really far. So when I'd have to get up, it would literally be like one of those things where you're like, like, like you wanted to like have like this grunt as you got up, but that's not very like elegant and vampire-esque. So I requested the corsets to really make sure that I was sitting upright, and I wanted Angela to have this kind of like feline kind of movement to her. So the corseting really helped to keep me upright, and like I really had to like use my legs. It was a lot of like squatting where it was like really had to just so that I could stay upright and just like kind of like levitate or like rise off of the couches and stuff like that. And so this season I kept those. And so I really like any of the outfits where Angela has her corsets. And I always like to wear a crap ton of jewelry. So
I was gonna say
all of the
lots of leather, lots of corsets, lots of jewelry.
Yeah,
A lot of
we
fun, I'm
tried to
sure.
make it a little bit more like it was fun. I was like, I feel very like matrixy in this.
Yeah, kind of. I hadn't thought about
Yeah.
that. Kind of. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Kind of. I also would ask you about working with the effects because you obviously are one of the people that are a lot of times covered in blood, and it does not look like it tastes good or it feels good, at least outside of the show. I wouldn't think it would. So can you talk a little bit about that and how you deal with that?
Yeah, it's so funny because a lot of people really hate the all the blood, especially Jacob. Jacob hates all the blood. I absolutely love it. I am such a horror fan. So, and I really have grown over the years to really appreciate gore and like practical effects. So I'm always like more blood, more blood, more blood. And so there's different types of blood that we use. There's like kind of like the prop blood, which is like really toxic. Don't eat it. And it tastes like really horrible. I one time accidentally in the first season, there was the heart, and I wanted to like lick it. And I did, but I didn't ask if it had edible blood on it. And they were like, you could see like the prop master behind the camera being like, no, 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 like, please don't. I just like went for it. And then I was like, oh, this tastes really bad. So I had to like spit that out. So there's that blood that is not edible. And then there's a mixture of different types of blood that is edible. Although it will make your stomach upset if you
eat too much of it.
Yeah, if you swallow too much of it. But yeah, I really love it. I like to say Angela, even though she's a lady and she can be very precise with her drinking because she's done it for a really long time, she's also like not afraid to just get messy. I like to think of her as like someone who just like, she gets a plate of ribs or like wings and just like goes for it. And so it tends to get everywhere. And I really I like to do that a lot of the time when it comes to like feeding with Angela. But yeah, a lot of the time it would, you know, anytime the director would want more blood, you know, makeup and special effects would be coming over, like squeezing it into my mouth and being like, is that okay? And I'd be like, just give me the bottle. And it would be like right before they yelled action, I would just squirt a crap ton of that in my mouth and then just like hide the bottle in like my pocket and just kind of go for it. So I feel like I handled it really well just because I really like it. And I want it to be bloody. I want it to be, you know, gory. So I have a really good time, except for when we have to do any of like the lower body. There was a few scenes where Maurice in the first season, he like was eating on my thigh, and it was a tube that was like attached, you know, in certain places so you couldn't see it. And our guy was like under the bed, like pushing it out. Yeah. And it kind of, there was like an air bubble, I guess. So he like had to push a little bit harder, and it literally just went everywhere. Like I was like sitting in it. It felt kind of like I peed myself. Like it was everywhere. And I was like, this is going to be really fun to wash out.
Yeah, I was gonna say, usually it's mostly contained to your mouth. You don't have it all over your body like some, you know, some movies and stuff you would, and then it maybe would be a little less fun.
Yeah, it gets sticky. Like depending on the blood, it gets sticky. And so it literally like your skin will like stick together. So it kind of, you really have to keep it wet. I'm doing this because we use spray bottles a lot of the time. So they would like come and like spritz us with this spray to keep it wet.
The blood spritzer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. Since obviously you enjoy that part of it, what part do you find difficult for the role? Is there anything that you struggle with?
Yeah. I always struggle with not making Angela so like big. She's just so like big and she's such a character that I guess I sometimes have a hard time figuring out how mean is mean, and also like how big and dramatic should I go. I'm someone, like you can see right now, like I use my hands and I'm very like animated with my face, which always doesn't come across on camera as the best. So I always have to remember to like either use the hands or use the face. But if I use like all of it, it's just, yeah, it's a lot, especially with some of Angela's lines.
All right. Do you have a favorite scene this year? Or if you can't say something specific this year, then maybe last year. But I know sometimes it's probably been so long since you've done it, you don't even remember what's what.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to remember at which point, and especially because depending on like how we shoot, if it's like we like shoot, I don't know, something at the like in a few episodes down, like at the beginning. I mean, you can see it in the promo photos. There's this certain book that we have this season, and there was some fun scenes that I got to use with that. A lot of the guest stars, those are always my favorite when you've already done like a season. Not that I don't love my like cast that I get to work with, but it's always so much fun to work with a lot of the guest stars, because it's so fun to see what they're going to bring and what you're not used to their sense of humor or their comedic timing. So there's so many times where like an actor will do something like a guest star, and it like I'm trying really hard not to break, because I'm like, oh my God, I loved that. I loved the way that you delivered that. And it's a lot of fun to get to play with these guest stars, because that's what it feels like. It really does feel like I'm playing, because they're bringing something new, and they have such different energy. And all of our guest stars this year came in with, they came in really prepared, and they really knew what they wanted to do with their characters. And they all came in with such great energy that it was very contagious, and it was a lot of fun to play with them.
You made me wonder when you said that. Are you somebody that struggles with not breaking a lot? Because I know some people have a lot harder time than others with that. Just
With that,
in
yeah.
general.
Not when, I guess I always know when I'm on camera that I need to like keep it together. It sounds a little selfish, but it's always when it's not on me, I have a harder time, because I know like I'm not on camera. And I mostly just like, I like want to let them know that like that was funny, that was good, like that was, keep at that. And so sometimes yeah, there's been a few times where I've been, the camera hasn't been on me, or like they've just done their take first. It's been on the other person first. And I haven't gotten used, like I haven't heard it enough times to get used to it. And it cracks me up. First season, actually, a lot of the time, Penelope and LeBron, Georgia Waters and Sean they were so funny. They would just do these, and I just wish that there was like more of them, and like you got to see more of them, because they just did, it was these small little things that they would do that were just so funny. And they brought so much to those characters. Like they were just supposed to be these like small side characters, and to me they just became some of my favorite characters on screen.
Yeah, I was just gonna say this show isn't always super serious. It seems like it'd be one you guys would have a lot of fun. Are you a cast that like pranks each other or does anything to try to make each other laugh, or are you usually more trying to keep it together, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the time we're trying to keep it together. There's a lot of like fun ad-libbing at the end of scenes. Jacob loves to ad-lib. I would say in terms of like the off-camera stuff, it's yeah, we do like to prank each other, but it's actually one of our ADs, Dylan. That man is a menace. He would, last season he would record us, and he would like set his phone up somewhere, and then we'd just be going about our day, and he would come out and like pop out and scare us. And then he created like a montage at the end of the season of all of us just like screaming and like getting like jump scared by Dylan. Yeah, so that those were always great.
Wait, no, sorry, I got off track. I was gonna ask you because you talked about guest stars. Who's somebody you'd like to see come on the show? Like if you could just pick somebody to come on that you could see happening.
Oh, I mean, we've been really blessed with our our guest stars last season. The actor that played Logan, Julian, he's kind of like it's so fun because on my other show, Surreal Estate, I work with Maurice Dean Witt, and Julian was in the first half of Cube, which Maurice was also in, which is like a great Canadian horror movie, which kind of started the whole, at least in my opinion, I feel like it was one of the first like escape room type movies. And so we were very blessed to have him, and we've had some really fun guest stars. I would love to work with Stephen McHattie. I just think he's great. He's done some really fun horror stuff, and so that would be really cool to have him on. That would be great. I mean, it would also be really fun to have, I don't know, any of my Surreal Estate co-stars, just because I love working with them so much. So sorry, my thing just popped up. But yeah, that would be a lot of fun to work with Stephen McHattie.
So now that was the other thing I wanted to ask you about was Surreal Estate because I love that show as well. I don't you haven't started filming, I assume though, the third season yet, have you?
No, we haven't.
Okay. I was trying to think if there's something I can ask you about that, but I guess if you haven't really started, I'm trying to think. Do you enjoy, let me ask you this, because you've done that, you've done Winona. Do you enjoy doing sci-fi a lot? Is that something that, or did you just sort of fall into it and that's the roles you took?
Yeah, I kind of just yeah, I just kind of like fell into doing a lot of the sci-fi stuff. um I guess I've kind of become a sci-fi girl, but I'm a really big fan of horror in general. So that's usually what draws me in. And then afterwards they'll tell me that it's basically a comedy, and then I'll be like, nah.
There's still blood. It's still got
Yeah, I'm
those
like, as
elements
long
at
as it's
least.
still bloody and as long as there's some element of horror. But yeah, I'm a really big horror fan. I would love to, I'd love to be a scream queen. That would be a lot of fun. Don't want to pigeonhole myself, but I mean, a great scream flick would be, a good scream and horror film would be great. But yeah, I just kind of fell into it. But I really like the genre. I'm usually watching something that's like a thriller or horror, or like, a dark psychological thriller or something like that. So that would be really fun. But I'm also, I always do enjoy a sci-fi element as well. Um, I like the kind of creatures and things like that sci-fi can come up with. I was a really big fan of like Underwater. Not a lot of people liked that movie, but I loved that movie.
I don't think I've seen, what's it? Maybe, I don't know if I've seen it. I don't know it from the title
With
anyway.
Kristen Stewart,
Oh,
Underwater.
oh, oh, okay. Yeah, I did see that. You said that.
Yeah, it was like
Pretty
very
good.
like, yeah, like the Cthulhu vibe. Like, I don't know. Some people were like, saw that coming. I was like, I did not see that coming. So I thought that was a lot of fun. Yeah. So I do like enjoy a good sci-fi. Or Life. I recently watched that when I was like working out on my treadmill, and I forgot how like creepy it was. That movie freaks me out for some reason, because it just feels like possible. And anything with like aliens going in like mouths. I mean, just like alien, like the face eaters, like that. Ooh, that freaks me out. Stay out of my body.
Well, hopefully, maybe I'll talk to you again. You'll be in some crazy, creepy horror movie that doesn't scare me too much to watch. I like horror, but I don't like torture porn. I get scared easy. So
Yeah, yeah,
aliens
yeah.
are good. That kind of stuff is good. Anything beyond that, if they're cutting too many people up, I'm usually like no,
I
I'll
know.
back away from that.
Yeah, for me, it's always the sound design, but I've definitely gotten more. I've really come to appreciate a good torture porn kind of horror film, because then I just always think practical wise, like, is that a practical effect or is it CGI? And if it is practical, I wonder what they use to like get the consistency of that. Like, it's
Yeah,
just
you
like I
start
ended
thinking
up
of
like,
that stuff. But yeah, so cool. But thank you for your time. Maybe I'll talk to you again sometime. So thank you. Have
yeah,
a good rest of your day.
yeah, you as well. Thank you so much for talking with
All
me.
right.
That was a lot of fun.